standing, we're saying goodbye to some very old and dear friends, Ken and Jerry Collins. Well, they're old. Well, I guess that would be the first people to have stand. Our guests of honor, Keith and Jerome Carter. And our commander, Lieutenant General Bill Thurman and his wife, John. And Major General Mike Lowe and his wife, Barbara. And to complete the table, my wife, Lorraine. Well, almost complete. Of course, our Chief of Staff, Colonel Ron Trout, his wife, Lorraine. Now for the Collier family. Most of the kids were able to come. Megan, the youngest, is in a play in St. Louis. She's been there, what, 2 months, and she's already taken over the plays out there. But Megan couldn't be with us. But Ned is here. He's our architect from St. Louis. Ned? And there's another son, Mark, who lives here in Dayton, and his wife, Debbie. Jay Collier and his wife Mindy, and Jay's in the medical school down in Cincinnati. And flown in at great expense to the Air Force. Captain Trent Collier. Trent's the world's greatest F-15 pilot. If you don't believe it, go talk to him. His wife Lori couldn't be here. There wasn't enough room in the airplane. But Captain Scott Kishline, who is also an instructor down at Shepherd, had to fill the other seat. Appreciate you coming. I think you'll have to admit the Colliers did a pretty good job. Also joining us tonight, many old friends, but our former Vice Commander here at ASD, Brigadier General retired Phil Richard and his wife Carol. And for some reason I don't see. Well, Gail Leasing made it. Chief of Staff. This time I'd like to bring up Mr. Lynn Lynch, who will say our invocation.
Shall we pray? Dear God, we praise you for goodness in all of life. We thank you for the beauty of this day. We gather this evening in fellowship and celebration of the talents that you have given to all people. We particularly thank you for the leadership talents that you have given to Keith Collier. Bless Keith and his family and their new adventure as they move from this community. We ask that your continuing fellowship be with them as they meet new friends and find new experiences. Bless this food that it may nourish our bodies. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Please enjoy your dinner. That's really coming into focus. I'll tell you the story that General Rankin sent a letter to Keith to be read tonight at the farewell party. The letter was accidentally sent to the home, and through a lot of effort, we had Jerome intercepted and carried here without Keith's knowledge. And it is presently in her purse at home. But she assured me it really didn't say very much. Just common stuff like congratulations. And so she continues to drive us all crazy. I like that in a woman's room. I have a lot of letters that did get here. Handled by other people. There was actually a phone call made to the club tonight from Ray and Carolyn Cannon. Yeah, and this gets here when you get on the phone. Wish we could be there. Congratulations, best wishes, Godspeed, hope to see you soon. I have no idea who that is. But that's probably not really very important. Also, I have letters from a number of other people, and I'll just tell you who they are rather than reading the letters. As Jerome says, they really don't say it all. General John Sheffner, who's the XR up at Systems Command, in addition to his note that he sent, he also called today and said to pass on his best. He was sorry he couldn't be here. But he was certainly glad he didn't send his letter through Jerome. General Electric, Joe Nelson. Dr. Nancy Itola sent a nice letter. From Langley, from NASA Langley. Richard Peterson and Lloyd Harris. Again, I have no idea who these people are. General Dynamics, Robert Barlow. And I'm back to the top with a note saying General Rankin's letter is not here. So much for the fun part of the evening. Keith left here rather quickly, actually, and what he had put together, an ASD industry conference, that turned out to be a rather successful event, but he never got to see any part of it. I just don't think that's fair. And I know it's Friday night and we're all tired, but we're going to have to show Keith the briefing that was given by myself at the ASD Industry Conference. Sticking to the policy of no one ever really figuring out what they're doing, since I've given it once, we won't let me do it again, since I probably could do it. We're going to have Lieutenant Colonel Chuck Poore come up, and who has no idea, he hasn't even seen the slides. And he's going to give, especially for Mr. Keith Collier, the ASD Industry Symposium briefing that Mr. Collier himself put together. Chuck?
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and welcome to the retirement ceremony here tonight. We in developmental planning dream of the future. We create the ideas from which new weapon systems are born for the defense of our country. Here's an overview of what the briefing will show you tonight. Does anyone know what those letters stand for? Colonel Zachary, where are you? Would you,
Small, insignificant armament division.
mind if I did something a little different tonight? How many of you here really want to hear this briefing? Sir,
Go ahead.
Okay, but there's two conditions.
Your career was going nowhere anyway.
There's two conditions, sir, you have to agree to. Number one is no attribution, non-attribution, and number two is non-retribution.
Press.
All right, I'm going to take a second here to change the slide trays. Keith Collier, this is your life. Sorry, sir, but we did not have the budget to bring all your old buddies and classmates back here tonight. Instead, we scrounged around and found some slides which we think may depict some segments of your life. Keith Collier was born in Attica, Indiana on May 13th, 1932. He came from very humble surroundings. His family had outdoor plumbing, but indoor TV. Here's Keith at an early age with his dog Fang. Fang, when I grow up, I want to have an important government job where I can spend millions of taxpayers' dollars on innovative and futuristic ideas, with a beautiful blonde secretary by my side. Yes, Senator, Keith Collier. Keith Collier was my mentor and close personal friend. Well, Keith Collier went on to achieve all he told Fang he would. And here he is, deep in thought, thinking up new ideas for the future. Once he's... Let's wait for the punchline now. Once he settles on an idea, Bob May and Jack Morris together can't budget. Even his deputy, Jack Cannon, cannot prevent During his career, Keith Collier managed organizations that dreamed of the future and planned futuristic weapon systems for our defense. Here's a typical development planner, hard at work. Thinking up new vanguard initiatives. The monkeys in this nose cone of this capsule are saying, this sure beats cancer research. Here's our engineers diligently studying the cutting edge of ping pong technology. A new design for airman dormitories. A reliability and maintainability design at its best. And here are a couple of our engineers checking for cracks in the runway. The latest C-17 modification request. Can you believe the Air Force is considering this? I don't believe it. But it's true, the airship is back. I'll say, if you work in these AFWAL labs long enough, even the black programs become rather transparent. One of the areas we've made a lot of progress in is human engineering. We started with this typical male model and factored in the current trends of today's male to come up with a design for the man of the 21st century. But when we ran it through, so far is they keep clogging up the shower drains. We tried the same thing with a typical female model and factored in the current female trends to come up with what the 21st century female may look like. But when we ran through our anthropometric model, this is what we got. I told you that wouldn't work. Someone told me if we put a couple skirts on them and sent them out to remote sites, they'd never know the difference. Of course, this brings us around to our X-rated airplane. And let's not forget our logistics innovations. After a successful career in government, Keith Collier went on to bigger and better things. Corporate America. What was General Verma's reaction to Collier's retirement? But his family was elated. And his staff, very sad. This is how Keith Collier thought his new job at McDonnell Douglas would be like. But it turned out to be a real go-rope. It certainly didn't help his drinking problem. He had a hard time convincing his wife, Jerome, to live in St. Louis until he showed her a picture of their new house. And let me tell you, she was very appreciative. So they sailed up the mighty Mississippi to be greeted by thousands of St. Louis residents and fans from the city. Look, honey, there's the McDonnell Douglas Arch. And there is where we'll be living until our new house is renovated. She was not impressed. Keith's response? Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, 3 hours ago that slide did not exist. Thanks to Joe Luchek and his bribes. We got it. Now we'd like to return to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where Keith Collier spent his entire 32-year career of distinguished service to his country. Of course, there's the base chapel and the duck pond close by. Here's the Oak Club on a Saturday night with a bar full of ringtail tutors. Building 11 cafeteria serves everything from fresh fish to fresh salads, with a competent staff to serve it as long as they don't have to smell it. And of course, many satisfied customers. Now, moving on to the base hospital. I think I'll wait about 20 years before I get my operation, thank you. But they can cure just about anything from the common cold mild case of hemorrhoids. These sure are nice accommodations, honey, but they didn't have to put us in separate rooms. And here's Bonnie Seiler. I think I'll send the president a teddy bear. Now I finally will get even with that SOB for the bombing raid. He'll pay big bucks to get his teddy back. Next we'll hear some infamous last words from some very famous people. We're only here to help you, General. I had no idea we'd get into so much trouble for leaving the ASD logo on our briefing slides. Only $80 for a couple of Banquet tickets, son. Surely you can afford that. These personnel phrases are getting worse each year. I'm sorry, lady, you can't come into the club without a club card. Safe sex, who needs it? I think we all do. You want to get rid of AIDS? Put it in the Air Force supply system. That way no one will ever get it. If he can easily do a preemptive strike against Cambodia, no one will ever care. Last week, my broker told me the stock market was headed for 3,500 mark. Yeah, me too. Comrade, I really don't think they'll get too upset and put a few missiles in Cuba. I had plenty of cigars for you smokers. I picked them up by following around a buffalo herd. If we can take just a few more dollars away from ASD, I know we can balance the defense budget. You tell General Thurman I have my problems of my own. And then every now and then, something does work out right. But that's all, folks. As it's been said earlier, Keith was here at Wright-Pat for some 32 years, and essentially 30 of those years were in the laboratory network. It had different names at different times, as we know as AFWAL today. And we only had him in XR for a couple of years, so it's only appropriate that we begin the presentations tonight with the current commander of the Wright Aeronautical Laboratories, Colonel Mike Walton.
Historically a long-range planner, by the way, by training. I'm not sure I'm ready to follow that last presentation. I guess I'm here tonight to describe something called technology transition. And that's something you guys all hear about, but you keep questioning me about what it is. And I can describe two very exemplary examples of tech transition. I just lost a tech director to be a major SPO director in ASD, probably because he was one of the excellent civilians in the organization, and we trained him properly and gave him the technology skills and took it over. Another technology transition which XR has hidden from us now is the display, which contains probably 75% of the programs that we've developed to keep them with them. But it's all right, guys, from XR, we understand. You believe that we transition technology through Centaur. And in a way we do. Keith is a classic example of that. He trained himself, and we trained him for 28 years, brought him to a key honed experience, transitioned him to ASD to help him out. Didn't like that. He's worked there for 3 years he's been down there, working a key area for us, and that is developing the long-range systems and concepts for us to develop the technology to support. Now, having said all that about Centaur, what we really do when we transition technologies, Keith knows, is we don't really do it that way. What we really do when we transition technologies, we send it to industry. And we train industry to come back and bid those programs, and we thought to make this process absolutely complete, we would transition Keith now to industry, where he can now bring those technologies that he's taken 28 years to learn at Wright Labs, 3 years to attempt an ASD, now we put it into accounts at MacDay. The thing that we typically hand out in affairs like this are our 5 logo plaque, but there's no point doing that because we've already given it to them. So we have to try something different, and what we like to do, Pete, you want to come up for a second? We'd like to present him with something he can hang on it, and we only have one Love Me wall. I'm sorry we didn't do 2. This says to Keith and Jerome Collier, thank you for your major contributions, the creation and building of a world-class Air Force Aeronautical Labs, and your continuous support of the labs in ASD. And what this represents is all the facilities in Wright Labs with an overview of the whole Area B complex. That's great. Thank you.
We talked it over and decided he's going to jump up and down. The next gift is very special to us in XR. As I said, we had our party earlier, but there's one gift that we saved for tonight. And I'm fortunate because I'm able to have the manufacturer of this gift actually present it. Colonel Larry Gimlisberger, who runs our mission area planning, is a blacksmith as a hobby, and he has made a gift for the Colliers, and since he manufactured, I'm going to ask Larry to come up and make this presentation. Larry?
I know the few things that Keith likes, and it's obvious in the last 2 years I've spent with him, and he really enjoys his job. I also know that he really enjoys his family. That's obvious from the plan we have here tonight. And I also know he enjoys entertaining. I was very pleased when the XR people asked me to make the gift for you, Keith, because it allowed me to enjoy my hobby. I know you will enjoy the gift, and I hope you enjoy it. And when we see us and see the gift, I hope you enjoy using it. And just keep away from your own, because frankly, none survive. This is a set for your grill, the XR family, and I hope you really enjoy it. Remember us when you use it. Thank you very much.
We were really running pretty heavy on money, and the plaque says to Jack Daly, but we got a hell of a deal on that plaque. Jack apparently didn't pick it up. It says July 7th, close enough, right? Next, representing the civilian workforce here At Wright-Patterson, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jim Matisse.
Well, before I put my civilian hat on behalf of ASD, Keith, I'd like to make a couple of points. You're a tough guy to get rid of. We thought we got rid of you from Flight Dynamics Lab. We got rid of you from AFWAL. It looks like it's going to stick this time. But I got to say, in retrospect, you've been gone now a few weeks. We really haven't missed you much. It's not that we haven't missed your professional activities. We have. But since you've been gone, we've had 7 or 8 official functions. And what all the able-bodied males have missed here at ASD are the hugs that Jerome gives us whenever we show up at these affairs. And I didn't get mine yet tonight. So we've really missed Jerome's hugs by comparison. So we hope we can take advantage of that yet tonight and in the future. You didn't get one either. Now, Carla's been trying to make up for that. That's been stimulating. Actually, I think I better quit while I'm ahead. As Keith knows, beginning with Ralph Johnson's retirement, we started a new tradition here at ASD. When an SES member leaves, and he's the second one, so we have some durability. We present him with a memento that is really very special. It's handcrafted by Joe Weingarten and Fred Roll in Lang Shop, made of solid sterling silver, mounted on a beautiful piece of walnut, and a memento on behalf of, funded by the senior civilians, I should say, but on behalf really of all the civilian workforce at ASD. So if you'll come forth, I'll present this to you and read the inscription. It's really very simply put, and I guess Jerome, you should come forward too because your name's on this. And it may be simply put, but it's sincerely meant to Keith and Jerome, all of the very best from the ASD civilian workforce, and we mean that sincerely. And I get my hug.
Next, we'll ask Mrs. Joan Thurman to come forward, and Jerome, if you come.
My hug. Jerome, from all of us that think so highly of you, this is just a very small token. There are many good things, I think, that come with the job that Bill has and that consequently I have, but one of them is not saying farewell to people that you enjoy so much. Jerome, well, Keith, we are very happy and we wish you well at your job in St. Louis, but we kind of wish that you just left Jerome here. We're going to miss her so much. She has been a great special part of our... What'd you say? She's a super lady. What will we do without Jerome? She has added so much to our wives group, our 2-letter group. You know, we have benefited from her advice and her good guidance at our off-sites. She has suggested, well, you really have not, don't giggle. I mean, there are a lot of serious things that have gone on there, and she has made some fine suggestions to us and things like networking that we are going to follow through with, believe it or not. And what are we going to do without Jerome to guide us in our ASD, our OWC ASD sponsored luncheons where we have had the advice of this professional artist here to set the standard for the very finest luncheons that we have had. And also for our wonderful Chinese luncheons where the mandatory chopsticks were in order. For those of you that were there, you know, food was falling all over the Collier household because he couldn't handle it, but she said chopsticks only. It's been such a good time, and these are just a few funny things that Jerome has added and has given to us. But there's so many more, Jerome. We have really benefited from your presence and from your attending our functions and for being a part of us. We're really going to miss you. And Keith, I'm not really sure that it's fair if you take it. We'd like for you to have this. I'll hold your flowers. And you take this from our ladies in ASD. I can't imagine what this is. Yeah, this is a big surprise. Okay, I'll get this in. Thank you very much. You're lovely. Uh-oh, we're in big trouble. Who has their glasses on? These are the candlesticks that we traditionally are now giving to our departing spouses of our two liturgies, and they're often pretty good. We'd really just rather you be here, Jerome. We'd also like you to have this shadow box, and if I had my glasses on, I could tell you what it says. And I said, okay, Jerome, you've got to read this. She said, I don't have my glasses on either. But essentially, it says farewell to Jerome. It says to Jerome Collier, if I get it out of the glare here, for your support to the ASD team, 23 October 1987. Thank you, Joe. Let's see. First, I'd like to say thank you to all of the wonderful old people that we've known over the years. We have enduring friendships that will go on for all of our lives, and there are many homes in Dayton that we know we can come back to anytime we want. And that's a lovely feeling. Next, I'd like to say thank you to XR. We've learned a lot of new things in XR. And we've only had 2 years there. I learned how to downhill ski. And I now know what get down means. I learned how to take my first flying lesson with the Birdman, John Shepard, and had my first OIP experience. Is that what it's called? Huh? Oh, thank you. I had my first offsites with XR, and I appreciated those very much. I learned a lot of good things, met a lot of lovely people, and learned some things about leadership that I didn't know before I came to XR. It's been a nice experience, and I thank you all very much. I'd like to say thank you to my children. They've been a prime experience in my life. I have 4 grandchildren now, and I can relate to Bill Cosby's statement on taking my revenge. I hope they're all just like you were. I have 3 lovely daughter-in-laws. I feel very fortunate. They're very dear, accomplished young ladies. And I hope you have a 4th one of these days.
have a daughter, 15, in high school, who's performing tonight, and I'm very sorry that she can't be here, but she sends her love to all of you who haven't seen her. I want to thank all our friends from the community that are here tonight. We have very dear friends that go back 25, 30 years, from Christ United Methodist Church, from Columbus, from the neighborhood where our boys grew up. And we're so happy to have you here, and thank you for sharing tonight with us. We love you very much. My last thanks I'd like to give to Teresa and Joe. There's Joe. They put together an absolutely beautiful album for us of the events in Dayton, of the places we've lived and been and enjoyed. And we'll go back to it many, many times, I'm sure, over the years. And thank you. Thank you all very much for coming tonight.
I'd like to ask General Thurman to come up at this time, and also with Keith and Jerome with both.
Why don't we just...
You want to hold them there? Okay, sir.
Thank you very much, Frank, and good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. I was a little worried about my speech material tonight until I saw the Keith Collier story on the side. You know, I've been trying to think back 30 years or longer, and I can remember some time back when I was over in Okinawa as a young fighter pilot that our squadron commander, who was a wild man that we called Bull Nudie, told us that at this time, this crowd's too young for this story. But I'll tell the story. The Dutch owned the Dutch East Indies. How many people remember that? Not very many of you, not very many. But anyway, we were alerted. We were in a fighter squadron in Okinawa, and we were alerted that we might have to go down there and fight. I don't know who, but we were told that we had to fight. And one night they turned us out at 1 in the morning, and I had 12 shots, you know, what do they call those things, you know, injections for everything from typhoid fever to rheumatic fever, I think. But our squadron commander decided that that we had to arm ourselves so that we're always ready to go. And so I remember that I checked out the first weapon that I'd ever carried and got a shoulder holster and carried it around under my flight suit. And so when the squadron commander said, and everybody has to have this weapon on them at all times. Well, you know, that was fine when we were at work or when we were flying, but then we would go to the officers' club, sort of like tonight, and drink a little much, wearing these weapons. And, you know, that was fine too until the club officer found out that half of the drunken clientele was armed. It was almost like going back to the Wild West. Now, I know I see some quizzical looks out there in the audience. Why is his material is worse tonight than it normally is? And why is he telling you this? Well, today is a momentous day. You know, there are changes happening at ASD. The General Officer Corps received their sidearms today. And so every General Officer at ASD now has his 9mm, what's it called, Beretta. Beretta. I wore mine home tonight, and Joan just laughed. But, you know, I think this is going to result in quite a change. You know, if the briefers aren't very good, you know, we might have shootouts in 2022. Well, and things are changing. I went out to give a speech this last week out at Phoenix, Arizona. Actually, it was Mesa, Arizona, to a Retired Officers Association. And the speech was filled with all the good things that are going on in ASD, the new systems and the new performance and the capabilities that we have. And, you know, I made one statement in there in the speech that said that it's irresponsible of the Congress not to recognize this good work in the appropriations that they're voting for this next year. And guess what the Phoenix papers had to say?
senior general officer calls Congress irresponsible. I'm still waiting to hear from all that. In fact, while I was flying out there, you know, I looked down and here was Dean Martin sitting on the airplane. I was kind of impressed with that. And next to him was this Mormon minister. And the stewardess came by and said, Mr. Martin, what would you like to drink? And he said, I'd like a triple scotch. And then she said to the Mormon minister, what would you like to drink? And he said, why, I'd rather commit adultery than drink booze. And old Dean Martin said, I didn't know I had a choice. I told you the material was a little thin tonight. On the way back, you know, I checked in the terminal there at Phoenix, and I said, send this bag to Los Angeles, and send this bag to, my ticket, of course, was back to Dayton. I said, send this to LA, send this to Chicago, and send this to New York. And the clerk said, we can't do that. I said, you did it last week. Well, I'll get on with it. Now, you wonder why I'm talking about change and that all this is occurring. And, you know, things have changed since we're here to honor, what was his name? Ken College. And I never could get his wife's name right. Jerry. You know, we're here to honor Jerry and Ken. And you know, we told you when we had the farewell parties a couple of weeks ago that things were going to change all right, right? And things have changed. You know, we've had, the first thing, I guess, we've had brush fires in California. We've had smog out there for about 3 weeks. You can't see the ground. They had some terrible winds over in England that blew away the southern half of the island. The stock market crashed, as somebody said, over 500 points, and now everybody thinks there's chaos. And you know, we're not a whole lot better here at ASD. And we all said that when Keith and Jerome left, that things would go unstable. So the predictions were right. But, you know, I'm not up here to extol them. I said all the nice things I could think of the last time that I had something to say about them. So maybe we just better give them the awards. Now, I think this is maybe they both better come up. Jerome and Keith. You can kiss the glasses off. This says, to Keith and Jerome Collier from all of us at the bicycle shop, it just says 23 October 87, and that doesn't seem enough because you've been a part of the maturation of this organization and the accomplishments of this organization for about 32 years. We should put all that on there, but that might show your age, Keith. I hope you're going to put that in your home and remember us.
Certainly will. Thank you very much.
Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, I read the citation from the Department of Air Force for the award for meritorious civilian service to Keith I. Collier. In recognition of his distinguished performance as Deputy for Development Planning, Aeronautical Systems Division, from November 1985 to October 1987, Mr. Collier has furthered our nation's defense through his personal efforts in leading the conceptual development of future Air Force aeronautical systems, which form the basis for Air Force air power for the foreseeable future. His distinctive accomplishments and dedicated professional performance and technical leadership reflect highest credit upon himself and the United States Air Force Systems Command.
Keith was selected as one of our outstanding SES performers this last year, and I'm here to give you a $4,000 check. Maybe I should give this to Jerome in recognition of the super performance that you've had over the last few years. By the way, it's been discounted by the IRS. More important than $4,000 is this cup, because this establishes you as a member in good standing of ASD. And when you come back here, whenever you go to the Flyweight Club, you will find this mug on the shelf, and you know this will be your mug to use anytime you're back, or in your absence for any lieutenant to use while they visit. So we're going to give this beautiful cup to you today and let you keep it tonight, but you have to return it so we can put it in the Flyweight Club, so your name will be suitably engraved in the heritage of ASD. Now, while Jerome has a plaque for her wall, we have the ASD plaque for your wall, and this just says, with appreciation, Mr. Keith Collier. We really mean that, because Keith has left us a legacy of outstanding performance that's unusual in the service of anyone that has been in ASD for longer or shorter periods of time. So Keith, I hope you'll fly this on your office wall out there at McDonnell Douglas, and let them know that this will let them know that you're quality folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Keith Collier.
I'm overwhelmed. This has really been something. Well, a lot of nice things have been said, and a few that kept me humble. Thanks, Frank. But the beautiful gifts and the lovely things that have been said are not what we'll really treasure all our lives. It's you. It's the contact we've had with you, and we'll remember that, as Jerome said, the rest of our lives. You're all very special, and will have special meaning for a long time to us. There are some special acknowledgments that I really wanted to make tonight. A dangerous thing to do to start listing names. But I wanted to recognize the 20-plus supervisors that I've worked with in that 32 years. That's a lot of different people. And quite a number of them are here tonight. And that's I think, something very special about this occasion. From the 1950s in the aircraft laboratory, my bosses were Glenn Miller, Glenn Perky, who is here tonight, Joel Lemcool, Bill Miller, and Bud Lusinger, who has passed away a few years ago. From the 1960s in the Flight Dynamics Laboratory, Frank Janik, who is here tonight, Colonel Krug, who is now deceased, Colonel Ken Grimes, Colonel Holly Lounge, Dick Honer, who's here tonight, and Colonel Jerry Lee, who's retired in the Air Force and is in Kirkland. From the 1970s in the Flight Dynamics Laboratory, General Dale Ward, Colonels Al Price, Bob Barlow, and George Cudahy. And from the 1980s in AFWAL and in development planning, Colonel Jim Nelson, Generals Bob Rankin, General Charles Cabell, General Jim Freitag, all three of the latter are still active military, Colonel Bart Krawitz, who retired last year, Lieutenant General McMullen, who retired last year, and of course finally General Bill Thurman. There were also some pretty special number 2 guys, and I like to recognize those because I spent 10 years of that career in number 2 jobs, and I think they're pretty important jobs. And the Vice Commanders at ASD are the special folks I want to recognize. General Bouchard, I appreciate you being here tonight, and of course General Lowe. And for a very brief period in there, General Bird Harbor as well. Well, you can see what a truly fortunate fellow I have been to have that kind of quality in the leadership that I've worked for and in the mentors that I've had over that span of 32 years. There have been a lot of other associates, of course, that are extremely special people to us and will always be. I don't dare start trying to identify that list of people. But if I didn't mention you, know that you have been special to us. Been a lot of teams that I've worked with, a lot of committees. The list of committees that I've been involved with kind of boggles my own mind when I look back at the amount of that sort of activity that takes place in a career. But that's an important part of where the team activity takes place. And it's been a place where I've built a lot of special and very memorable relationships. And thanks to all of you that have been involved in that kind of capacity with me. So I'll simply say thanks to all of you for being you. You've made my 32 years truly enjoyable, fulfilling, and memorable. Finally, no one could ask for having a more loving and supporting family than I've had during this career. My public thanks to you, Jerome, and to our children. All of our sons are here tonight, and it's you who've been the rock that I leaned on when things were tough from the career side. So thanks to you too. To Colonel Zachary and to Jack and all of his committee, and to Bonnie Seiler, who served as my secretary the last couple of years. You really put on some kind of event. Wow. And thanks to all of you for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. We'll remember you always. Godspeed. God bless you.
Good evening, Mr. Collier, friends, family, and associates. We are Systems Go from the Air Force Logistics Command Band of Flight. We put together a very special tribute for you this evening for this special occasion. We hope that you'll enjoy it. We'd like to do for you now a very beautiful song that was invited to Raven a few years ago. It's a beautiful song with beautiful people. It's called God Bless the USA. Tomorrow all the things will go. I've worked for all my American, where at least I know I'm.
To Keith I. Collier by Lieutenant General William E. Thurman, Commander. This flag was flown over the Aeronautical Systems Division at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, on 1 October 1987. It was presented to commemorate retirement after 32 years of dedicated service to the United States Air Force and our national defense.